Gamers, what's up? Nice to see you, first of all. Second of all, I do apologize for the past couple of weeks. I've been disconnected, just myself, my screen in Diablo 4. I cannot tell you how good that feeling is to run away from all of the social media and just sort of get to enjoy a game yourself. I did get to level 100. I did do some higher tier nightmare dungeons, and I didn't want to be that guy talking about Diablo 4, reviewing it at level 72, right? For me, that's a little bit silly. I expected things and I got many things that I expected completely the opposite. Let's talk about everything. For example, I expected a shitty launch, got a good one instead. Props to them, actually. Even with the occasional major lag issues, login servers down, cannot find a license, and fake queues into a kick out of the game, it was still the best launch I've seen, or I've been part of. In the last 15 years. Granted, I haven't been part of every single new game that was released. However, the 5, 6, 7 games that I have been there day one, this one with Diablo 4 was a pretty smooth launch. Looks, I already knew. I played the betas. Looks like a modern game. UI is clean. Skins look cool for the first 2 minutes when you get to look at them. Music is great actually for actually the first few days. Sound effects. Thank God. By the way, thank God they did a good job there, and I'm still able to listen to my character. Some games have these annoying when you swing your sword, you just cannot listen to these particular sounds like on a daily basis. I do have to congratulate them for their sound effects. Their sound effects and this little attention to details are really good sound wise. For example, I was in a place where it was raining outside, right? And as you rain, you hear the sounds of the rain, and then I entered a building, and then the rain sound faded out, and it was just like click 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 on the roof of the building. Listen to this and you're gonna see what I mean. So these kinds of things really sort of make the game. You cannot really hate on the game as being a bad product simply because it has a lot of these little attention to details, not only sound wise but also visually speaking as well. It's a really nice, it's a good base, right? It's a nice game, day one kind of game. Comparing it to current games that have had years of development, there's lots of stuff to improve. We're gonna get to there in a second. The story itself is the best I've seen so far, but don't take my word for it. I generally don't watch story, so I just press escape. To me, it seems like a completely pointless notion in a computer game, but that's just me. This story right here, I actually went through it, and I actually read the dialogue, and I listened, and I looked at the cutscenes. Really, really well done. Another expectation that I had, and it was the complete opposite in reality, was that I'm new to ARPGs. I expected that if you provide a hardcore mode to your game, you make absolutely goddamn sure that your servers are top tier. You can't, you just, it's lame, it sucks to have a hardcore mode where you die, you lose everything, and then provide like lag for 5 minutes in a row. I died twice because of these problems, and there's many other people who died at a higher level than me. At least I gave up. I reached once, I was in my late 50s and again late 50s, and then I gave up. I went to softcore, but other players actually managed to get lucky to somehow survive the servers and the crashes and the disconnects and the verification errors all the way up until 70 or 80. The combat itself, I wanted to quickly mention it. It doesn't really compare to like an MMORPG, of course, but it's a very solid base for an ARPG that they should actually work to diversify. It's actually quite cool, to be honest with you. Not everything has to be flashy and in your face. It's not annoying to do anything. It's not annoying to cast your skills, to move, to whatever you need to do, zoom around, jump. It's very flowy and very fluent. I don't yet understand why the smallest of skeletons takes away 80% of my HP in one hit. I could never understand that. It always feels like a struggle to not even allow mobs to touch you. Is that how you play ARPGs? You learn on your own skin by dying. A little bee, the smallest of bees, comes next to you, ping, and then you're like, oh shit. Boss fights, worth mentioning. Just really just another thing that you do at the end of the dungeons. to get your glyph XP statue up, I suppose. By that I mean there's nothing interesting about boss fights in Diablo 4. Not that there should be. Same goes for like world bosses. Unimpressed. Then again, I don't really remember a game like an MMORPG even where world bosses were anything else than just like a sponge there with like one or two mechanics. I suppose it's okay, but anyway, boss mechanic like telegraphs and interesting things that you need to go during the boss fight and do that and solve a mechanic, a puzzle. No, no such thing. Yet another expectation that I had, and it turned out not to be like that, was learning my class and sort of like being able to customize my class over and over and over again at end game and redo it and try again and redo it and just to really experiment. That's the word that I'm looking for. Bang, slap in the face, didn't happen. When you hit level 100, it costs about 10 million gold to sort of try, even attempt a different build in terms of paragon points and skill points to just respec all of them. And then on top of that, of course, there's the tens of millions that you need to spend on re-rolling that gear for the second build even before you change your skill build, because you might be stuck with a brand new skill build on the gear that you use for, I don't know, poison shadow damage, when instead you want to play a physical damage build. So it's like it's very expensive, and I don't mind that. I think that's cool. I knew that the devs were saying that it's gonna get so expensive to respec your character to a point where it's gonna be worth it to try out another character instead. So at the moment it doesn't feel like that. Luckily we have the internet, right? Luckily there's Max Roll. Shout out to the guys at Max Roll, by the way. But I don't want to do that. I don't want to copy someone's build. I just want to experiment for myself. So from my point of view, it's it's not very incentivized. I can try a new build every 3 days. So not because it's so expensive, but because there's other things I want to do as well with my time and with my gold. Maybe I want to pimp up my barb, or maybe I want to do something on my druid. So it's not just one class, it's 2 3 classes that I'm excited about. So I'm just saying, as a weird thing, it's not good, it's not bad either. It's just how it is. Another expectation that I had, and it kind of got crushed along the way, was the leveling up process. I expected to get to level 100 in like 2.5 days. I'm like, I'm playing 10 hours a day, of course I will. No, absolutely not. Especially for a new player like myself that has to read it, or wants to read everything as I go along. I was reading my skills, I was reading my paragon points, I was thinking, what about this? Every single little piece of gear, and goddamn, we're going to talk about inventory space in a second. Every single piece of gear I was reading to see, okay, these stats, what would this go good with? And for a mind like my own that is sort of fresh to ARPGs, and what you actually need is just to stack crit strike damage. That's all. That's the success in this game. Well, of course I didn't know. So because of that, I took a lot of time reading, listening, looking around, admiring, and it took me way longer than 2.5 days to get to 100. I wanted to have a segment in today's video talking about the fact that, same as many other players, I was pretty bored starting with level 80 onwards all the way up until 100. Having that said, I'm not going to complain about leveling, since yesterday with the most recent patch, they have changed basically the two ways that I used to level up, which are mostly nightmare dungeons, and they have increased the XP you gain from nightmare dungeons by up to 80%. I'm very happy with these changes, and I think that if I would have had them while I was leveling up, I would have had a great experience from level 80 to 100 as well. How about seasons? Let's talk a little bit about seasons, because I did, just today I turned on social media. It was an explosion of stuff about Diablo 4, and I did see some sort of confusion on Twitter about seasons, and some guys from some magazines, and then some other people, some dads that cannot play Diablo more than an hour a day. So seasons, I want to talk about that as well. Very exciting to restart every 3 months, assuming that the stage and the goals Blizzard sets for us are good enough. One of the reasons I came to ARPGs is exactly this. There's a lot of confusion, and that's also because Blizzard has done such a great job advertising the game. I mean, what do you expect when you put your game in a KFC sandwich? You're gonna have a lot of different opinions. Dads, moms, they come here, they think, oh, it's a computer game, I want to play it like I used to when I was 15 years old. It's not the same. Games these days are better than games 20 years ago, but you yourself are not the same person. 20 years ago, you were living in your mom's basement, right? So I get the confusion. Everything seemed easy. You used to play World of Warcraft, grindy as hell. You used to try Aeon in 2009. It took you like a month and a half to get to 50. So, that didn't seem such a bad thing. I want the same feeling. The same feeling is never going to come ever again, okay? It's not because we are not the same people. We have now jobs, some of us two jobs. We have two, three kids, one, two, three kids, one, two, three girlfriends, boyfriends. You know what I'm saying? So life has changed. But at the same time, I really understand the people who, you know, understood something else, because I have real life friends that have also understood, hey, this is a game that's perfect for everyone. It's in a KFC sandwich. Having that said, resetting everything during every season is not really going to happen, because I did watch some Blizzard podcast where they talked about the renown system for seasons, and they said that some of it is already going to be granted by default because you've already finished it, in case you have finished the renown and the campaign, etc. Even for your seasonal characters, or maybe they're just going to remove all the renown gain altogether for your seasonal characters, as long as you've done them on the Eternal Realm. Who knows? We're gonna have to see. Probably in the 13-page patch notes, they might be mentioning something solid about what we're gonna get in terms of renown during each season reset. As for the content, how about that? Let's talk a little bit about the content. Helltides, as I was mentioning, hands down the best content in Diablo 4 so far. It's rewarding, satisfying, soloable if you want to, mildly exciting with the prospect of dying, right, and losing half of your cinders. It's good looking. It's a great idea to see your world under Hell's influence. Fantastic sounds also, by the way, that really teleport you to a hot, high wind, barren feeling kind of world, just like Hell would be. They've done a really good job. I'm very happy with this. You get to meet people. Another thing, there's no griefing, by the way. Besides the necromancer bone prison on top of a recently dead flame enchanted boss, exactly when he explodes, and you're just stuck there taking the explosion. It is what it is. Honestly, for me, as I said, best content so far in Diablo 4. Best as in well-rounded, almost no negatives and a lot of positives. That's what I mean by best. Dungeons, that's why I came here. I came to an ARPG to play dungeons, right, over and over again and scale them harder. And then when I feel like I'm done with a class, try another and do the same. Most of them look the same. You either have a tree/wild animal dungeon in a forest setup. You have an underground tunnels kind of dungeon, either with spiders or some sort of slimy monsters. And you have a cathedral type dungeon, or like a dungeon in between some walls, gray walls, with a very dark basement that has squeaky metal doors. And that's kind of like the themes of the current dungeons. I know there's more that are going to be unlocked with like future content. And then there's maybe like 2-3 more types of looks. It doesn't really bother me at all, the fact that they kind of sort of look maybe feel the same. Quite frankly, they grow on you the more you play them. For some reason, I absolutely love the cathedral type dungeons. It's just something really satisfying to slay demons and monsters inside the cathedral. PvP, there's PvP in Diablo 4. I've been there when I was level 100. Probably others were just frankly lower level than I was, and I just kept getting one shot by every barbarian. Now that kind of PvP I cannot really get behind, and I also don't want to level up another character to 100 to create a PvP specific build with extra potion charges or whatever I can't. I don't think that, based on my opinion so far, I don't think that PvP is good in Diablo 4. Cellars are quite a cute idea. I like Cellars. I don't think they're worth doing or chasing, but I think it's a nice thing to do as you progress maybe through the Tree of Whispers. Sometimes you're missing one point, you're just gonna do a cellar. It's nice and quick. I think the loot in Cellars needs to be sort of changed from whatever gear you get and bits of gold to something that's maybe more specific, like for example a bigger batch of herbs and ore, or if it's a Helltide Cellar, maybe a bigger batch of I don't know, Fiend Roses. This is just like an idea. Not everything in the game has to become so important that now you have to do it, and now it or all of a sudden becomes your chore because you have to do it because it's meta and you need those rewards from there. Not everything has to be like that. However, adding rewards that are valuable only sometimes or only for a specific stage of your gearing up process, as you're looking for gear, for example, or as you're enchanting your gear on a specific character, makes people want to do that particular content sometimes. And if it's a sometimes thing, at least it has some sort of value to do sometimes and people don't forget about it. The same way with the whispering chests, for example. I love whispering chests. It's so cool to sort of find one, right? It has a really nice animation. The lock has some, golden thing, and you open. Man, goddamn. The same thing as with the Cellars, you cannot make these chests be like all of a sudden it's the meta and people chasing chests. But again, rewards that are sometimes useful, or maybe change the rewards and improve them to a point where every single chest is guaranteed to drop at least 4 legendary items that you either sell or extract the aspects, for example. Moving on with more annoying things that I discovered and I don't really like in Diablo 4. 4 stash tabs. Who thought that is enough? And now they're kind of fucked because they cannot even sell them because it would just be a revolution if they start selling stash tabs in a game that costs 70 euros, and people are already upset about that. And then they sell stash tabs when people are already complaining about lack of space to fix a problem they've created for real money. I mean, goddamn, I can already hear Asmongold in my head. I can already hear them in my head. He had a similar video about Lost Ark at one point. Anyway, kill all mobs. Kill all mobs. Who thought about that also? Kill all mobs, not done properly. I'm okay with killing all the mobs, but it has to be improved. Mobs have to chase you for a little longer. Please. It's just not fun. And you know what's the worst part? When you have like one goblin. God damn, is one goblin or one bee that didn't even move from the beginning of the dungeon, and you thought, my poison damage down below is gonna kill. No, and you're at the gate, one mob left. And you know what's even worse than that? When there are no mobs, but the tracker is bugged, and you have to go all the way through the dungeon to find out that there is no mobs. And then 4 minutes later, the tracker updates when you have sort of reached a zone where there was a mob, but it died, and your character model didn't pick up the death in his radius, and now it's just absolutely. I had one of these dungeons, and I thought to myself, I ain't doing this dungeon. I'm out. I'm off. But no, you know what? I stayed and I walked through all that 4 minutes. 4 minutes empty dungeon. Mounts are very useful, but they need more work. Not a big deal that you have to point your mouse on the edge of the screen to gallop at max speed, or the fact that they just randomly stop when you hit the edge of a little bush. It's annoying. If all you do is ride your mount, these things become annoying. And this is important for every single player because we all ride mounts, especially on our way to 100. Part of the first impressions of any single player, right? At level 100, and especially after I finish my renown, I feel that my mount becomes less useful, also because the change to the nightmare dungeons where a scroll teleports you straight there. So it becomes less of a problem. However, it becomes again more of a problem every single season because we keep resetting and all of us go again back from scratch and have to use our mount to get to this place, the other place. So it's something that they need to fix, but not like I'm not gonna quit Diablo 4 because my mount stops when it's a bush. Another expectation that I had in an ARPG, of course I didn't think that it was perfect, but I thought, okay, it's an ARPG. They only have 5 classes to deal with, and it's been in development for 5 years, and there's no flashy boss fights, there's no thought put into mechanical engineering a fight and stuff like that, so they have plenty of time for balance. I thought to myself, of course, being ignorant, having never played an ARPG, not really. I don't know, for some reason it just itches me that there's this class that can just one-shot everything, and I'm sitting there. I also want to enjoy. It's cool to one-shot the butcher. You know, This is gonna get better in time, but I'm just saying, class balance was another thing that I thought it would be better, but seeing like you kill Uber Lilith in 42 seconds? How about a sell all feature? The fact that it takes 3 weeks to move gems to their own tab. This is something that's a little bit worrisome to me. Um, I understand they're out on console, it's a live service game, shit happens, they need lots of approvals for consoles, they want to ship at the same time. I get all of that. But the fact that we are in this situation where every little change, not bug fixes or hot fixes, no, every little change that there's plenty that they have to do, takes so long, right? Approval, QA over QA, console shit. Yeah, just thinking about the future, because every game has problems. It's gonna take so long to fix things in Diablo 4 if this is the pace that we're gonna keep moving forward with. At the end of the video, by the way, thank you so much for watching so far. I know it's been a little bit of a long one, but I had many thoughts. At the end, I wanna finish off on a positive note, which is actually the note that I've been left off after my first 3 weeks of Diablo. It was actually quite a positive note. I loved my time here. I've enjoyed every single day at a time. I'm gonna keep being here at least until season 2, so I can maybe see a leaderboard from Blizzard, see what that's all about and how I feel there. And until my next video, I hope you're enjoying today as well. See you really soon from now on, and take care.